Hello there, and welcome back to Mindfulness at Work Casual Fridays, where a former advertising executive and current certified mindfulness meditation teacher is here to teach you about stress and burnout and all kinds of ways in which you can improve your experience at work, raise the bottom line, become more successful, but also avoid the career-ending burnout that I experienced about 10 years ago. So welcome back. I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. Today, I wanted to talk about something that's really, really one of the most important things in all of our lives, and that is our attention. Okay. In the world of mindfulness and also in the world of neuroscience, you hear a term spoken quite often, right? The term is where attention goes, energy flows, right? Now, our whole being, our whole brain, our nervous system, every system in our body, our mind, as it were, which is a little bit more mysterious than all of those other parts that I'm naming that can be, sort of examined and measured. The mind is really a process, but all of this, it runs on energy, right? There's an energetic flow going through our bodies at all times. And when we attend to something, when we place our focused attention onto something, then all of the resources, all of this beautiful energy, all of this beautiful electricity gets focused towards that task, right? Which is to say that if we allow our attention even a little bit to be divided between what it is we're doing and something else that might be in our mind, well, then we're diminishing our capability of doing this thing. Now, here's the thing. In most of our lives, this doesn't matter, right? Like when you're brushing your teeth, you've brushed your teeth so many times in your life that you do not have to concentrate on it, right? Just like walking across a room, you do not have to sit there and say, okay, left foot, right foot, right foot. And so your mind is free to wander. Now, that's not always a good thing. It's not always a bad thing either. But the idea here is that, as the mind wanders, right, we lose that resource of our focused energy or our focused attention. Now, when you're running a business, or even as you're fulfilling your role within a business, that resource is everything for you, right? That's the whole thing. Another aspect of mindfulness that we're going to talk about in the next couple of weeks, is that, everything in our lives, everything that's ever happened in our lives has happened now. Nothing has ever happened in the future, and nothing has ever happened in the past, or nothing will ever happen in the future. Nothing has ever happened in the past. And I know you're sitting there saying, wait. What about my college graduation, right? I graduated in 1992, right? So that was the past, because today is 2023, right? And you're right. Yes, that's absolutely true. But when you were graduating, as you were walking down that aisle with the going to pick up your diploma on the stage, it was happening now at that time, right? And so this idea that in this present moment is when everything is happening. And we combine that with the ability or the understanding that where attention goes, energy flows. Well, then we kind of get a picture of how all of our resources, all of our capabilities, every decision, every thought, every idea, everything happens right here, right now, within the scope of our attention. Now, I hope I'm getting through to you how important this is, right? Because again, life is difficult, right? Life throws us curveballs all the time, especially in business, right? Schedules get compromised, mistakes happen, costs overruns, all kinds of things happen, right? And that happens even when a project is going well, right? And so our task then, our our goal, if you will, is to be able not to set up this perfect scenario in which no mistakes ever happen, because you can chase after that for your whole life and you're never going to really find it, right? I mean, you might temporarily meet these moments where, okay, everything's going well, nothing's going wrong, but eventually something's going to slip. Something's going to become a problem that needs to be solved. Right. And this is not even just in our business world, right? This is also in our lives, right? In our relationships, in our home finances, the water heater breaks, I mean, things happen, right? So the object is never, or the objective rather, is never to, avoid the mistakes. I mean, yes, we try to prepare and we try to do things so that mistakes don't happen, of course. But when I say avoid mistakes, it's not, we don't want to be rigidly, afraid of mistakes happening, because they're going to happen. The better way to approach, or the more effective way to approach this whole sort of concept, is to recognize that you have the resources to manage the mistakes, but those resources are only available to you in the present moment and within your ability to attend, to focus your attention on what it is that is happening right now. Now, here's a really important aspect, a really important fact, if you will, about focused attention. And by the way, when we talk about mindfulness, right? Mindfulness, I did a video on this on my regular Showing Up to Life channel, which you should maybe look at. It's very informative. I think you might like it. But there's basically three main skills that we cultivate when we practice mindfulness. And mindfulness is a practice that cultivates skills, just like anything else that you've ever learned to do. Riding a bike, dribbling a basketball, eating, walking, anything. You have derived the skills through repetitive practice. There's no mystery to that. Okay, so the three skills that we cultivate through the mindfulness practices that we'll be talking about in this podcast are focused attention, open awareness, and what we call kind intention, which is not being a nice guy all the time or a nice girl all the time. What it is just having a positive, what we call a universal positive regard for the world. That's all. We're going to get into that later. Don't stress about that right now. Right now, let's talk about that first skill. Okay, that first skill of focused attention. As we do the practices of mindfulness, which yes, there's a formal version of practice, which is meditation, right, which we're going to be talking about here in the weeks ahead. But there's also many ways in which we can informally practice focusing our attention. We can train our attention through these, less formal practices. Even something like having your cup of coffee in the morning. Right? Most of us, and, again, former advertising executive, right? I would be walking around with a cup of coffee, drinking it while I'm having conversations, doing all the things. And then, life had to keep going on as I was drinking my cup of coffee. But here's the thing. You can afford 5 minutes. You can afford 2 minutes. You can afford 1 minute to sit with your cup of coffee. You can sit there and hold the cup of coffee in your hands and feel the warmth, right? And then when you start thinking about that email you have to write, you say, whoa. I'm still drinking my cup of coffee. This is still my 1, 2, 5 minutes of my practice this morning. And then you just keep coming back to it every time the mind wanders off. Another great way to practice this is brushing our teeth in the morning. Right? Again, brushing your teeth is something you've done tens of thousands of times in your life, so you do not have to think about what you're doing when you brush your teeth. You can be completely unconscious about it and do a perfectly, adept job at brushing your teeth, right? But it's an opportunity for you to practice focusing your attention. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Tomorrow or tonight when you're brushing your teeth, listen to the sound of the toothbrush. Now, I don't mean just like if you have an electric toothbrush, but that works too. But I'm talking about just the all that sound, right? Focus your attention on that sound. And when your mind wanders and you think about that, my 2:30 meeting today with so-and-so is going to be so hard. Whoa. I'm no longer listening to my toothbrush. Come back to it. Over and over and over again. You do that every day that you brush your teeth, twice a day. within a couple of weeks, you're going to have a different skill set, a different level of skillfulness of holding your attention on whatever it is that's going on in any given moment. Now, here's what's really cool about this attention training, right? As we train our focused attention, right? What we're also doing is training ourselves to know when we're not focused on what it is in front of us. Because here's the thing. It is the nature of our minds to wander. I mean, even on a physiological brain level, right? We have whenever we're engaged in a non-task oriented activity like brushing our teeth or something we don't really have to pay attention to, our brain goes into what's called the default mode network, right? Which is where the energy is widespread throughout our brain, right? It's thinking of all the different things that's going on in our lives. And most often it's thinking about ourselves within that context. And because of this thing called the negativity bias that we all share, it's thinking about what's wrong with ourselves and with everything in our lives as it relates to ourselves, right? And so that's the nature of the mind, and the brain itself is always going to do that. It's not something that's wrong with you. It's not something that's bad, but it is the nature of the way the mind and the brain and nervous system work. Just the way it is. We can't change that. It's hundreds of thousands of years of evolution have created this. Okay, so we're not going to change it with a 6-week course. I promise you that. Even a 12-week course like the one I offer. But the point that I want to make to you is that, this wandering of the mind, first of all, if we allow our mind to wander in a present moment context, right? Like where we, turn everything off and say, okay, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to let my mind wander. That's when creativity happens. That's when we find ideas that never came to us before. This is the magic of what we are capable of doing. This is beautiful stuff. So this is not something where we want to, stop the mind from wandering, create a rigid attention like a soldier standing in a line. So what happens then is as we're developing the skill of focused attention, and again, this can be as simple as doing, your toothbrushing, your coffee, even walking across the office floor from your desk to the washroom or to the kitchen, that's a moment where you can be present. And as we do this, as we train this attention, train our attention, our focused attention, what we're also doing is we're training ourselves to know when our mind has wandered. And this is perhaps the most important skill of all, because again, it is the nature of the mind to wander, and we don't always know when it's happening, right? To us, we're just in it, right? We're just, lost in the thoughts, right? As we might be typing an email, or we might be sitting in a meeting that's very important, or we might be, meeting with a vendor who's like, feels like it's boring us, but he's saying something maybe that we really need to hear right now, and we're not hearing it because we're, thinking about, getting our car detailed, or we're worried about the quarterly report coming out, or we're worried about setting up the group meeting that I have to set up for this new project. On and on and on could go the potentials, right? I don't have to list all the different possibilities of distraction. But here's another point, right? That and this is, listen, everything I tell you in this podcast it comes from science, okay? Not from woo-woo and all that stuff. I am a science-driven guy here. And the science is pretty clear that inattention, the divided attention, right, where mind is bouncing around from one thing to another, that is depleting of our energy. That is exhausting. Remember, where your attention goes, your energy flows. So if your attention is all over the place, then so is your energy. And it's just, you're just like letting your energy out like air coming from a balloon. And you get exhausted. On the other hand, however, focused attention regenerates. It enlivens us. It energizes us. It gives us that feeling of flow, of I cannot be stopped. Just get out of my way, people, because I am here to get it done. That is the vibe that comes from the focus of your attention. The dividing of your attention, the vibe that comes from that is, oh God, I need a drink after work, man. I can't believe this day I've had. I promise you, it's not the stuff that went on throughout the day. It's the way you were able to either focus on what was going on or unable to focus on what was going on. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast today. As I say, these are quick little episodes, 15, 16 minutes or so, and we've reached that point now. So I'm going to say goodbye. I'll be back next week. But if anything I've said here, inspires a question or promotes some sort of, I wonder what he would say about this, right? Please email me, art@artburnscoaching.com. ART@ARTBURNSCOACHING.com for all those who needed that spelled. Otherwise, can I ask you one quick question, one quick favor? I should have asked in the beginning. Could you like this video? Could you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already? And if you wouldn't mind, could you share it with somebody? Maybe even leave a comment if you're able. It helps with the algorithm, and I want to just reach as many people, not for my own egoic sense of popularity and the little tickling that I get as I look at the numbers. That is awesome, I'm not going to lie. But what I really need is I need to know that I'm reaching people so I can help them, because you know what? Like over 50% of people worldwide claim that they experience chronic stress. Worldwide. And I know some of you are in the worldwide, not all of you are in America. I know that. And so more than half of us are experiencing chronic stress. That's really, really tough. We could do better, folks. We really could. And the more people that I could get to, I could give these tools to, that they will stop feeling that chronic stress. They will end the path towards burnout, and they can reclaim the passion and the love and the enthusiasm for their work. And that's what I'm here to do. All right. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I wish you well. I'll be back next week.